After 6 years at the top level of Fortnite competitive, Clix has finally done it. Going back to the early days, qualifying multiple times to the World Cup finals, going ahead and qualifying for over 20 different FNCSs, and placing 4th place more than anybody can count, Clix has finally done it. He's managed to get a top 3 podium finish in FNCS. And the craziest thing with this placement last season is he's actually in a better position this season to outperform this, especially when we take a look at all of the factors, including their early game, their mid-game fighting style, as well as how good these guys are having consistent games. I actually think there's a small chance they can compete against the God Trio on NA, Peterbot, Hoyo, and Cold. With that said, let me explain why Clix, Higgs, and Eomzo are going to have their best ever season coming up. Alright, the first reason why I think these guys have a real shot of actually doing well this FNCS and even beating their 3rd place last season is how good their drop spot is. Last season they were landing at Lost Lake, which definitely is a good POI, but it is nowhere near as good as the brand new POI Lone Wolf Lair. As you can see, the main benefit of this spot is these guys get a guaranteed vault as well as a guaranteed underground where they can get a load of gold, which is going to be very, very important in a second. Also, a very key point with this drop spot is how quickly they can all get their materials up, as well as get potential early surge on teams nearby. Then, as soon as the vault opens and they've got a load of metal, they can very, very quickly get over 1,000 gold each from all of these different crates, as you guys can see. Now, gold this season is obviously the main theme of it, but I cannot tell you how important just getting this much gold every single game is, especially when it comes to their black market that they're going to fight for every single game of Grand Finals. Now, probably the main reason why I think these guys are so poised to do well this FNCS is because of how good the black market is near their spot, and also very nicely because of how much mats and loot these guys get from their good POI uncon. They have a very easy time of getting it. What they do is carry over a scanner to check there's nobody camping inside the vault, so as soon as the scan goes off, they know they're not getting camped on, and they have a very, very free time of getting the vault. And then look how broken this black market is. I'm sure you guys know how broken these are at this point, but this one near Magic Mosses, we literally can buy so many gold splashes, and remember, they've each got over 1,000 gold at this point in the game, so they can just buy loads of gold splashes. And there's also gold and mythic guns down here as well, so it clicks able to get a gold AR on multiple occasions, as well as purple pumps and things like that, which is insanely broken. You guys know how strong these gold splashes are. We'll look at it later as well if you don't understand how broken they are, but they can literally buy so many, they have to leave stuff behind on the floor they can't even carry, which is absolutely crazy. Now, the next reason I think these guys are in a really good position to at least probably get 2nd place this FNCS is how much better their fighting has got. If you guys watched a lot of these guys last season, you probably noticed that they were fighting a lot more erratically, and this season they seem a lot more structured. Like, take a look at this fight example right here. They're fighting sort of defend the black market from this other team, and they do a bunch of really, really nice plays. First thing is Clix is going ahead and replacing from the middle, grabbing the tops and grabbing the walls on the solo player. Higgs, which is Batman Booger, if you guys don't know, he's sort of changed his name and rebranded a little bit. He is over here pinching on this other side, and Eomzo is doing the correct thing as well, and he is pinching from the other side and just spraying through, not pickaxing too much. And that is why these guys are so much stronger in fighting, and especially because they're fighting lots with shotguns during early game, they're able to get a lot of storm surge doing this. Also, even if the fight goes a little bit south like it does here, Clix takes loads of damage. Eomzo also gets hit a lot, so they have to slow down because of the fact they have so much gold splashes and how broken these are for team healing as well. You can just quickly throw them down, instantly get back up to full altogether and run around together with increased pickaxe speed. It's genuinely so crazy how strong this is. They're able to just run in here, chase down the other player on the team, and get a free kill. And a massive part of Storm Surge this season and past season as well is fighting, like soft fighting, going for shotgun trades versus other teams. And this is really, really important because remember, they have all of these spare gold splashes down here, loads of extra gold they can rebuy their heals after they're done with these fights, and Elim points are a massive part of winning FNCS. If you take a look over on EU, Veno, Flixie, and Vico, who are probably the favorites after winning Grands last season for this upcoming season, they have this exact playstyle where they fight a lot during mid game, they get a lot of surge of shotguns, not just sitting in a box with ARs, and it's exactly what Clix and his team have started doing. Also, the next main reason why I think these guys are a really good shot is no matter what zone they get, even right here ends up being a pretty far down towards the south zone, they're running into a lot of teams, they manage to keep their mats really good over and over just by being nice and early in refarming as much as possible. Now, you can actually see how much they're able to refarm constantly throughout mid game in this example clip right here, as well as maintaining good rotates, because they can easily just splash up any shield that's been tagged away and then very, very quickly rotate, refarm even more compared to other teams nearby. And this brings into my next point, which is why I think these guys are so good, is how they actually rotate in their entire game plan for their game. Now, Eomzo is the IGL of this trio, and I will have to give him credit for this. He literally always sticks to this exact game plan every single zone, even during the later moving zones. So let's take a look at an example on the first sort of partial. What these guys do is they scout, get loads of info before the zone closes, which is a really key step. Then as soon as zone swaps, within like 1 to 2 seconds, pretty much every single time, they will splash and insta rotate with triple bat. Even if they don't have triple bat, if they've got like a double or a single bat, they'll go ahead, instantly rotate and start covering ground as fast as possible, which is really, really important. Now, as soon as you go ahead and run out of your sprint with your bat, what these guys do is decide to pause. As you can see here, they go ahead and pause as soon as they run out of sprint, and they actually just decide to not over rotate. I think a lot of teams do this mistake where they try to over rotate, they try to go too deep on certain zones. These guys do not make that mistake. Instead, all they do is get information and get ready to go instantly on the next zone. If we skip forward, you're going to see this exact same game plan in a second as this next zone pops up. Zone pulls far, they insta double splash and get themselves back up to 200 HP, so there's no chance one of them dies, and they triple bat exactly the same. And this is where it becomes really, really important as zone goes further and further that you decide to pause at the correct timing. It's really important that you don't just pause when one of you gets beamed. You try to pause nice and early as soon as you run out with sprint, like they're going to do in a second here. And also overbuilding wood and covering your back is a really, really key step with these early rotates to make sure nobody behind you is going to delay you by shooting you and wasting all of your shield. Then the main benefit of this type of game plan that Eomzo's got them going with is, of course, they're the first one into every single zone, and they don't typically get grief too much on backside, which we're going to come back to in a second when it comes to how they play moving zones. Now let's take a look at how these guys play end games, and this is really, really important. The exact same game plan they used during earlier zones, splashing, insta-going as soon as zone pop, they still do the exact same thing during first moving. If you want to get better in trios, just have a structure that you stick to pretty much every single zone. It allows all of you to be on the same page. Then these guys get to the most front side position possible at all points in time, so they stick really, really far front side. And what they do very importantly is they put a pre-edit on. They don't wait for a pre-edit to come to them. Instead, they auto sort of put it on and get ready to do a pre-edit on a team nearby. And of course, when you go front like this, it allows you a long period where you can just look back and try to get kills on teams coming in late. Another nice thing that I noticed that Clix started doing is always just doing those little scans where he looks around whenever they're spraying. Whenever you reload your gun, always get in the habit of scanning and checking there's nobody else going around. And then as soon as these guys aren't able to find a kill opportunity, they start rotating towards the front side of the zone. And again, they try to break up their rotates into little bits, so they're not just over sprinting over and over, leaving one of them behind. They rotate, pause, rebox, and then as soon as zone is starting to catch up with them, they start instantly rotating and getting towards front side of the zone. And they're not afraid to use mats, which I think is really, really important skill this season. Don't be afraid to tarp, burn mats, especially if you're going to constantly be going for pre-edits. It's a really good habit to get into. Now, as we get towards the later moving zone, so this is normally end of second moving, third moving, and especially final moving, this is where these guys actually start to have a really, really unique play style, which is basically, if you guys watch Centered back in the day, is playing low ground constantly. Very, very rarely do they even think about or look at high, and especially in these endgame zones, they basically completely stop playing mid ground and they start full playing low ground, which I think is very, very interesting. So as you can see right here, we're about to be in third moving, and these guys do a really, really nice play, which is kind of predicting where the next zone is going, getting down towards front side low. And again, as soon as the zone swaps, they realize, oh, we don't pull moving zone, let's cut off front side onto where zone is pulling, which is really, really key. As you can see, they fight the other team off low ground, they secure this sort of lower layer below everybody else, and especially this Clash Royale, which is absolutely busted for pressuring other teams off your layer, they go really, really wide with their tarp. As you guys can see, they're basically doing a 3x3 wide on low ground, spraying upwards, and basically not letting a single other person down onto their low ground. Now at this point, this is when things get a little bit ropey, as I'm sure you guys understand. You've been trying to play for low ground, they haven't really had a good chance of getting refreshes, like it's basically final moving and they've got one kill right now, so obviously they're running pretty low at map. And this is their main strength, I would say, is always saving a couple of these splashes for final moving. This is the thing that I'd recommend doing in solos, trying to save on these splashes when you need a refresh, but especially in trios, saving a splash until you need a refresh desperately allows you to do a play just like this, which is what these guys do. They chop and shoot in and they're able to get a nice little double refresh onto a team right there. Clix gets all the mats and he makes a very decisive call to keep on playing low ground. And again, with those amount of splashes they get, they're all able to heal up a little bit, get themselves back healthy, and they get into final moving right here. Genuinely so important, and one of the main reasons why I really like watching these guys play is how good they are getting refreshes when they need them. Not just sort of silly refreshes on somebody who's backside of storm, instead getting consistent refreshes by using the splashes together and actually playing together is really, really key. Now let's go take a look at another win from these guys, and I'll break down exactly what they do during the later moving zone. So as you can see, they're going really, really wide, claiming everything on low ground, not letting anybody else come down towards them. And as soon as final zone pulls right here, as you can see, it's pulling across the water, makes low ground so strong. High ground, especially in the water zone, is actually pretty bad because of course you have nothing to connect to. You have a very, very hard time of actually maintaining height as well. And this is actually exactly what happens. Acorn's new team of Ritual and Asia's, as well as Peterbot, Poyo and Cold, were all fighting for high ground at this point in time. And this is the main benefit when you're a low ground team, is you can just sit there, watch everybody fight on high ground and get very, very easy kills just by chopping out other players. You can see They all spray up, get a free kill right there, and now they're left in a 3v3, and all they need to do is spray up over and over, and they have a very, very easy time of taking out this other team right here. Clix hits a 190 onto one of them, and now all it comes down to is the Eomzo hitting his shots, as well as Higgs hitting a very nice shot at the end for these guys to win the very, very first game of the cup. Now, the key thing and the main reason why I'm not sure these guys can win FNCS, and it's a bit of a question mark on whether they can do it, is how consistent they'll be throughout these divisional cups. They've already got second place in the very first one, as well as they've actually had a lot of competition from Peerbot, already being like 100 points ahead of them on the leaderboard, just because of how dominant high. So let me know down in the comments where you guys think these teams will end up. Personally, I think they're a lock-in for probably top 2, but there is a chance if they have enough improvement throughout the season, they could actually contend first place.